Hey, it's Jeremy here. In this tutorial, I want to be showing you how to create this cool grain texture effect in Adobe Illustrator on all your cool illustrations. Let's check it out in this video. So my amazing friend sent me an illustration. Her name is Olga. You can check her out on Instagram. Go follow her. She's at semclo.design. She has an amazing, cute, whimsical style. And I love her illustrations, just with vibrant colors and just nice shapes and designs. So check her out. She's a great illustrator and she wanted to collab on this video, and let's get stuck into it. So I'm in Illustrator. This is the illustration she created for me. A lot of simple, nice shapes and some cool characters here. I love how this girl's hanging off the shape here. That's awesome. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to create some nice texture effects using some grain brushes. There's a cool pack that I've been using called Memento brushes. And if you want to get them, you can actually go on Envato Elements down in the description below. There'll be a link if you want to check them out. But it's got some grain brushes here. If I zoom in, it's got like some nice splatter blushes, some cross hatching here, and some pattern brushes as well, which is really great for frames or shapes. For this tutorial, I want to be using one of these ones, and I typically love using this one that's very dense. It is a bit laggy sometimes because it costs a lot of processing power, but once you get the hang of it, you will know what to do. So I'm just copying and pasting this brush inside my file, and this will allow me to use it. So now I've got this brush here on the side, and I've got it in my brush section, as you can see on the right side. I've also got my amazing color palette here from the artwork itself. So what I'm going to do is start to add some texture on some of these interesting shapes. So I'm going to go on this circle here, and what I like to do is just go and make the stroke white. And all I'm going to do is one click on the brush that I've created or selected here. And you can see here, it starts to add this cool texture. I'm going to go to my stroke panel and drop the points to 0.5. So the stroke panel up the top, you can click that. You can also open the stroke window if you want, but you can see here, it made the actual texture a bit smaller, which is what I wanted. And you can see that nice effect there. I can also apply the same effect to this one. Once again, click that. And for this one, I might want to do a bit of a different effect by adding a different color. So maybe I want to go 0.2 points, and maybe I want to make it the same texture or color as the background. So I'm going to sort of pick this peach color. Hopefully it worked. Cool. So I'm going to click this peach color as well, and we're going to see what happens. And you should sort of get this effect where the edges start to, meld together really well. And that's why I love using the same colors there. So you can see here, we selected the color of the background, and it just has a nice, interesting flow to it. So it's basically the same sort of method like that, but I just like how it's looking here. And you can see it's starting to overlap onto the black stroke there. Amazing, beautiful. All right, cool. I'm gonna show you how to add some texture inside of these shapes here. So whenever you wanna add a brush texture or grain effect, make sure you always duplicate the base shapes or the original shapes so you don't damage it. So I'm going to hold shift and select all these like colored shapes here. Right, for example. So now I've got all these shapes that I've selected just to show you. And I'm gonna press Control C, Control F. Now we've got a whole bunch of like duplicated shapes, as you can see here, right? I left the pants out just for this example. And now what I can do is that if I can go to my layers panel here, and you can see I can put these shapes on another layer. So I can just put extra, and I can select those shapes and drag it to the top there. So now you can see that they're on a different layer, which is totally cool. You don't have to add it on a different layer, but for me, I'm just going to do that just to make it a bit more neater. So those shapes are going to be used for our clipping masks. So what I'm going to do now is press B for the brush tool. Now what we can actually do, you can see it's on the left hand side here, and you can see the brush tool there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the same color of the actual shirt or whatever the shape is, and I'm going to start to paint, click and drag with my mouse and paint like this along the edge. And we'll just let it load, and you can see what it will do, start to add this texture. What I'm going to do is press V for the selection tool. Make sure I select the path, drop it to 0.5 points so we get the texture a bit smaller than what it is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select both the path and the shape. So I want to make sure that this shape is above the other one. So make sure you click Object, Arrange, Bring to the front. Then what I'm going to do is hold Shift, select the path, and press Control 7, or go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And it should make that mask relatively easy. And so you can see now we've got this duplicate shape on top. What we need to do though, we need to change the color of the brush effect. So I'm just going to go into it. So you can double click on the shape. So I'm going to double click into the clipping mask and you'll go into isolation mode. You'll see a little bar pop up like this. I'm going to click inside. I'm going to change the transparency mode to either overlay, color dodge, or multiply to get a nice effect. So I'm going to click multiply and I'm going to probably drop down to 60% opacity. And now you can see it's going to be a darker orange. And when you do this, you just get a nicer effect that blends well with the original flat shapes. Instead of just doing, you don't want to make the colors muddy. You want to make sure there's contrast. So I'm going to press escape, pop up there. So boom, you can see now it's got like this darker shape there. And we're starting to get like this nice grain. And I think that's looking amazing. Hopefully you guys can see that really well. Beautiful. Now what I'm going to do the same for the purple stuff. And so for example, you can also do like a shape effect or just do a line. You can also do a pen tool. So I can just click and drag with the pen tool and make a path. So I like to make the same like direction of the hand and the shapes. So you can see there, I'm gonna click my brush again. And then what I want to do is just make the stroke a bit smaller, 0.5. Make sure there's no fill. And once again, I can go, this time I might go overlay and see the effect. So you can see the overlay effect. I'm just going to bring that behind it. And then my shortcut is Control 7 or F3, which I did. So now you can see we've got this like cool texture effect. Love that. It's looking amazing. So I'm just going to quickly go through and do these rest of these shapes. And you can quickly see how that turns out. So for the boots here, I'm using the brush tool and just painting a rough shape. You can be kind of rough with these things. You know, it doesn't have to be crazy, you know, peculiar about the exact like measurements or anything. And I'm going to multiply these like you can see I did with this circle around here. And just gonna, hopefully there's just checking there's the shapes there. Bring it to the front, make a clipping mask, and then make a clipping mask. And there we have it. I love this effect here. As you can see, I'm zooming in there with my mouse wheel, but there you have it. You can see we've got some amazing effects now with just adding some basic textures, using overlay, using a bit of multiply, and we can add as many textures as we want. You know, we can keep going. Even for this, like this shadow here on the neck, you can even like add a texture there, which is kind of cool. So for example, if I want to go to the stroke there, and I'll probably make it very small. Another cool trick is that you can actually drop this down to 0.1. It will go even smaller. So if you look at the texture there, and obviously I can make a clipping mask, which is probably what I should do originally, just so I can get the texture on the left hand side. But there's heaps of ways you can do to like add those extra textures. So I'm just gonna get rid of the path, so you can see if I get rid of the stroke, it gets rid of the texture there. Another cool thing as well, I just want to add a few final touches to the actual background. So what I can actually do here is I can pick one of these, you know, less dense brushes and pick sort of one of these lighter ones. And for example, this one works really well. I'm going to drop this in, create a nice like shape in the background. It could be any sort of shape. And I'm going to click this like that. And I'm going to make it the same color. And I'm just going to get rid of the stroke. I mean the fill. And for this, I like, you know, just applying one of those effects, and I can bump up the size of the actual texture, as you can see there. Scale it down. So that just adds a bit more texture as well. And I just dropped the opacity down. I can do an overlay effect as well. If I make it the same overlay and drop this like 50%. Just to add some more texture in the background there. As you can see that, as you can see in the background there. So I'm gonna quickly just add some more texture to the scale and then see the final effect that we can come up with. Another cool tip as well is that you can actually, if you don't want to double click inside the clipping mask, you can see if you put your mouse over it, the line actually pops up. You can press A for the direct selection tool and select that actual line from inside, and then you can change the effects. That's another easy way that I like to deal with it as well. Another cool thing, if you want sort of this darker, what you can actually do is actually use your color window. So if you go to window, go down to color, as you can see here, you can open this. And what I like to do is click this little drop down and go to HSB, which is hue, saturation, brightness. And I can start to tap the darkness to make it a bit darker. As you can see, if you want a bit of a darkener, and you can drop the saturation a bit. And sometimes I like to play with the color as well. But now you can see it will have a little bit more impact. So compared to this one has a bit more black in it, as you can see there. And it doesn't have to be accurate. Sometimes I like putting the path outside, just outside the edge, so I can, you know, have more control, because I don't want it to overpower. I just want it to be like on the parts where I believe the shadows should be. As you can see there. And once again, I can use my direct selection tool, select the path, use my eyedropper, and it should add the same effect. So you can see that I use my eyedropper and left click that, and it works. So I'll just Control Z to show you. So that was the current effect, but I wanted this effect. So select the path, the green line, press I and go over here and click once. And you can see it added that same effect, which is looking amazing. Love that. I think I might make this a bit bigger as well. I want more of that nice texture coming through. See there with the purple there. I think that is amazing. And I'll probably just do this one as well. So it's a bit of a process. Just make sure you always have your illustration done first before doing any texturing, because, you know, it can take a little while depending on how much texture you're adding and all the effects. But once you do it, your illustrations just become so much more vibrant and interesting. I just think it's amazing. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and let me know in the comments below if you love seeing grain textures in this type of tutorial, because I just love playing with Illustrator and using illustration. So thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoy the final result. I'll see you in the next video.